What if the love of your life wrote you a letter, but you didn't receive it for 30 years? What if that letter held the key to a love story that was meant to be, but was stolen by time and circumstance? Today, I'm going to share with you the most heartbreaking and beautiful love story I've ever encountered, the story of David and Catherine, and the letter that changed everything, 3 decades too late. This is a story about first love, impossible choices, and the cruel tricks that fate sometimes plays on our hearts. If you believe that some loves transcend time itself, please hit that subscribe button, because this story will stay with you long after it ends. It was the summer of 1963, and David Martinez was 19 years old, working at his father's auto repair shop in a small town outside San Antonio, Texas. He was supposed to start college in the fall, but money was tight, and his family needed him. That's when Catherine O'Sullivan walked into his life. Catherine was also 19, the daughter of the town's banker, visiting from Dallas for the summer to stay with her aunt. She was everything David thought he could never have: educated, refined, from a family with money and social standing. But when her aunt's car broke down and she brought it to Martinez Auto Repair, something magical happened. David later told me, and yes, I was privileged to interview both of them, that the moment Catherine smiled at him, the whole world stopped. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because when she looked at him, she saw him. Really saw him. Most people looked right through me, David said. I was just the mechanic's son with grease under his nails. But Catherine looked at me like I was somebody important. What followed was the most perfect summer either of them had ever experienced. Catherine would find excuses to bring her aunt's car in for maintenance. David would take longer than necessary to fix things, just to have more time with her. They'd talk for hours about books, dreams, and the future. By August, they were deeply in love. But there was a problem. Catherine's father had already arranged for her to marry James Whitmore, the son of a family friend, a Harvard-educated lawyer who could provide the kind of life her family expected for her. Despite the impossible situation, David and Catherine spent every moment they could together. They'd meet at the town's old oak tree by the river, where they'd talk until the stars came out. David would bring his guitar and play songs for her. Catherine would bring books and read poetry aloud. I felt like we were living in our own secret world, Catherine told me, her eyes still lighting up at the memory. For those few hours each day, nothing else mattered. Not my father's expectations, not James Whitmore, not the differences in our backgrounds. It was just David and me and this perfect, impossible love. David was saving every penny he earned, dreaming of a future where he could provide for Catherine the way she deserved. He'd already been accepted to college on a partial scholarship, and he was working extra hours to save money for the rest. He had a plan to finish school, start his own business, and then ask for Catherine's hand in marriage. But as summer drew to a close, reality crept back in. Catherine's father arrived from Dallas to take her home and finalize the wedding plans with James Whitmore. The engagement would be announced at the end of September, with the wedding planned for the following spring. The night before Catherine was to leave, David made a decision that would haunt him for decades. He wrote her a letter pouring out his heart, telling her he loved her, asking her to wait for him, promising that he would find a way to make a life worthy of her. He gave the letter to Catherine's cousin, Maria, who promised to deliver it to Catherine once she was back in Dallas. "Tell her I'll wait for her answer," David said. "Tell her I'll wait forever if I have to." Catherine returned to Dallas, and David waited for her letter. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and still no word. Meanwhile, The engagement announcement appeared in the Dallas Morning News in October, and the wedding announcement followed in May of 1964. David was heartbroken, but he convinced himself that Catherine had made her choice. She had chosen security, social standing, the life her family wanted for her. He threw himself into his studies, finished college, and eventually built a successful construction business. He married a good woman named Elena in 1968, and they had 3 children together. Catherine, meanwhile, married James Whitmore as planned. It wasn't an unhappy marriage. James was a decent man, and they had 2 children together. But Catherine never forgot that perfect summer, never stopped wondering what might have been if she'd had the courage to choose love over duty. "I waited for David's letter every day," Catherine confessed to me. "I kept thinking he would write, would fight for me, would give me a reason to be brave enough to defy my father. When no letter came, I thought maybe I'd imagined how deep his feelings were." For 30 years, both David and Catherine lived their separate lives, raised their families, built their careers. David's construction company grew into one of the largest in Texas. Catherine became a respected teacher and community volunteer in Dallas. Both were widowed in their later years. David lost Elena to cancer in 1989. Catherine lost James in a car accident in 1991. They thought of each other often, but neither had the courage to reach out. Too much time had passed, too many lives had been built on the foundation of their sacrifice. They resigned themselves to keeping their love as a beautiful memory from their youth. But fate wasn't done with their story yet. In 1993, Catherine's cousin Maria was dying of cancer. She called Catherine to her bedside and said she had something important to tell her, something that had been weighing on her conscience for 30 years. "I never gave David's letter to you," Maria whispered. "Your father found out about your relationship with him. He threatened to disown you, to cut off your college fund, to make sure David could never get work in Texas again. He made me promise to destroy the letter and never tell you about it." Catherine was stunned. "What did the letter say?" she asked. Maria reached under her pillow and pulled out an envelope, yellowed with age. "I couldn't destroy it," she said. "I kept it all these years, hoping someday I'd have the courage to give it to you." Catherine opened that letter with trembling hands. Inside, David had poured out his heart. He told her he loved her more than life itself, that he was working to build a future worthy of her, that he would wait for her answer no matter how long it took. He asked her to be brave with him, to choose love over expectation, to trust that together they could overcome any obstacle. The letter ended with these words: "If you feel even a fraction of what I feel for you, please write back. If you can't choose me, I'll understand, but please don't leave me wondering. Either way, I will love you until my last breath." Catherine cried for 3 days. 30 years of wondering, 30 years of what if, 30 years of believing that David hadn't cared enough to fight for her, and all along, he had poured his heart out in a letter she never received. At 49 years old, Catherine did something that terrified and exhilarated her. She looked up David Martinez in San Antonio. It took her 3 weeks to work up the courage to call him. When David heard Catherine's voice on the phone, he thought he was dreaming. They talked for 4 hours that first call, both crying, both trying to explain 30 years of hurt and misunderstanding. When Catherine told him about the letter, David was silent for a long time. "I thought you had chosen him," David finally said. "I thought my love wasn't enough." "I thought you had forgotten me," Catherine replied. "I thought it was just a summer fling for you." They arranged to meet the following weekend at their old spot by the oak tree. Both were nervous. They were different people now, older, marked by life and loss. Would the magic still be there? When David saw Catherine walking toward him across the field, he said later that it was like watching the sun rise after 30 years of darkness. She was older, yes, her hair was gray, there were lines around her eyes, but when she smiled, he saw the 19-year-old girl who had stolen his heart 3 decades earlier. Catherine felt the same way. He was still David, she told me. Still gentle, still thoughtful, still the man who saw something valuable in me that even I didn't know was there. They sat under that same oak tree and talked until midnight, filling in 30 years of life, sharing their joys and sorrows, their children's accomplishments, their spouses' memories. There was no bitterness, no anger at the time they'd lost, only gratitude for finding each other again. David and Catherine began a careful, respectful courtship. They were grandparents now, with established lives and families to consider. But the love that had bloomed between them at 19 was still there, deeper now, seasoned by life experience and loss. In 1995, 2 years after they reconnected, David and Catherine were married in a small ceremony under their oak tree. Their children from their first marriages were all there, along with grandchildren who were delighted to see their grandparents so happy. They had 15 beautiful years together before David passed away in 2010 at age 76. Catherine, now 83, still lives in the house they shared in San Antonio. She keeps David's original letter framed on her bedside table, next to a photo of them on their wedding day. People ask me if I'm bitter about the 30 years we lost, Catherine told me during our last interview. But I'm not. Those years made us who we were when we found each other again. Maybe we needed to live those other lives, to love other people, to become the people who could fully appreciate what we had. Friends, David and Catherine's story teaches us something profound about love, timing, and second chances. Their love story reminds us that some connections transcend time, that true love doesn't fade even when separated by decades of silence. But more than that, their story is about the courage to reach out, to take risks, to believe that it's never too late for happiness. Catherine could have kept that letter as a beautiful secret, a what-if to wonder about for the rest of her life. Instead, at 49, she chose to be brave. Their story also reminds us of the power of truth. One deathbed confession, one letter kept safe for 30 years, changed everything. It makes you wonder what letters haven't been delivered in your own life. What truths haven't been spoken? What courage haven't you found yet? David and Catherine had first love, lost love, and then miraculously found love again. They proved that some stories don't end when we think they do, that some chapters are just separated by longer pauses than others. So I ask you, is there someone from your past who deserves to know how much they meant to you? Is there a letter you never sent, a call you never made, a truth you never spoke? David and Catherine's story reminds us that it's never too late to be honest, never too late to reach out, never too late for love. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances and the enduring power of true love. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove love really can conquer time itself. Until next time, remember, some letters are worth waiting 30 years to read, and some loves are worth waiting a lifetime to reclaim.